Peace everyone, Unmask here, and welcome back once again for another live stream tutorial with pastels. So again, this is the pack of pastels that I'll be using, and I'll also be using a 12 pack of the Faber Castell Pitt pencils, just a little bit. So let's go ahead and get started. The paper that I'm working on is the Clairefontaine pastel mat. This is the sienna color. Hello Karen, thanks for joining the live chat. Just about to get started. Let me just hit record on my camera real quick so I can save this as a time lapse. Alright, so the first thing that we're going to do is we're just going to throw a bunch of color all over this paper because we're going to do a starry night scene. However, since I'm going to be doing a silhouette over top of it, I don't want the background to be completely black, so I'm going to actually use the charcoal gray. So this is a dark gray color. And I'm just going to kind of cover most of the paper here. Alright, so now we're going to start incorporating some of the colors. Hello Monica, thanks for joining the live chat, hanging out and watching the live stream. So the first color that I'm going to incorporate is a little bit of this lovely blue. I'm just going to kind of scribble these colors on. Feel free to add them wherever you want. You don't have to be exact. We're going to blend all this stuff out and it's going to look great. So just have fun with it and put it wherever you feel like the color should be. Don't pay too much attention to where I'm putting it. Just have fun and make a mess on your paper for now. I'm gonna get a little bit lighter blue. This is a really bright light blue, so I'm just gonna throw some of this in here as well. And all this will be kind of blurred, softened. All right, I'm now going to grab a little bit of this kind of a turquoise green color, and I'm just going to start incorporating that a little bit onto the paper. As you can see, it's clearly a huge mess right now. That's all right, because once we blend it out, it's going to look really good. Now this is a much lighter green color, and I'm just going to put in a few spots where it's going to be nice and bright. Alright, so let's go through with another layer of the blue that we started. Just add a little bit more of that in some areas. We're also, let's incorporate a little bit of the darker blue but almost purple color. We're just going to put some of that in there as well, just in some of the darkest spots. Because once we blend it out, we're going to get a much better view of what's happening on this paper. And you can see that I'm avoiding the bottom here, and that's just because I'm going to do a silhouette across the bottom, similar to the thumbnail of this video. Hello Oliver, thanks for joining. Watching from Ireland, that's cool. Malia, hello from Germany, thank you. Thanks for coming by. So now I'm just going to take my finger and blend all of these colors out. This is going to be the first layer, so don't expect the pigment to cover the entire paper. But there's no reason to be gentle here. Just rub your finger and blend out those pigments the best that you can. Once we add more layers, it will cover up the paper much nicer. No real technique here, just blend all that pigment out. I didn't put a lot of the chalk down on the paper, so it's going to be a bit grainy on these first layers. Alright, so let's go back again with our charcoal gray color, and we're going to do a little bit harder layers and make sure we can get all the paper covered this time. I'm going to avoid the highlighted areas because I want to fill those with more color. Now we're just going to run through our colors again. So I'm going to grab that dark blue, kind of scribble some of it in there. And then I'm going to switch to my lighter blue, lighter bright blue, and just kind of bring this color back in here. And I'm really just scribbling all over the paper, which I think is pretty obvious. And let's incorporate some of that green color. And just have it coming across the sky a little bit. And just a touch of that really bright green in a few spots. Now, once you start adding a few more of these layers, the pigment isn't going to spread as far, so be a little bit more precise with where you're going to put this color. I'm just going to blend this out and see what I have, see where I need to add some more pigment. See, the colors are starting to get a bit softer, and we're starting to get a little bit smoother blend with all the colors. But it's still pretty messy. With this paper, we can add all kinds of layers and things like that, so don't be afraid to don't be afraid if it looks really messy at this point, because it's going to look messy for quite some time. There we go. Hello, hello Bigelow Arts. Thanks for joining the live stream. Let's see. So we're going to switch back and add a little bit more of our charcoal gray and just get those darker spots dark. I want to make sure I get a nice border where my tape is, so I want to cover up all the paper. Just going to really lay this pigment down, just to cover everything up. This charcoal gray is going to desaturate these bright colors. So when I blend it out, the colors won't be as vibrant and bright, so I'll have to add more layers on top. But for now, I'm going to switch back to that dark purple blue color and just add a little bit around the edges. That way it's not completely charcoal black, and it has some of that dark blue aspect that makes the sky look nice and deep. I'm just going to bring back some of the color in the sky. And we're going to switch to that light blue again. And I'm just going to go through and add a little bit here and there. Not too much. I'm going to switch back to the slightly darker blue and just get some of that back in the sky as well. Lighten up, get a nice transition between the dark and the light with this medium blue. There we go. And I'm going to go ahead and blend this out and see how it looks and then build on it from there. So that gray is starting to come in to where these lighter colors are, and it's desaturating it quite a bit. So it's good to know that. It's good to blend it and know where I want to add those colors back. this medium is so forgiving that you can just kind of scribble and blend it away. The charcoal, when I'm referring to charcoal, I'm just referring to this color because it's not black. On camera, I don't know how black this looks, but it's a shade brighter than black. And I'm calling it charcoal because charcoal is not really black. It's kind of a grayish color. So it's like the third block in my pack here. So it's just not black. I'm saving the black for the silhouette that I'm going to put in the front because I want that contrast. All right, so I still need a little bit of the dark gray or charcoal that I keep referring to. So I need to get some of that back in there. Because there's still some little spots that I want to cover up. So I'm just going to add some of that back. And I'm going to switch to that really dark purple blue color and go right over top of that. I do apologize if the scraping of the paper is coming through the microphone. Hopefully it's not too bad. Now I'm going to switch to that medium blue, back to the medium blue, and work in some of these transitions between the bright spots and the dark spots. I'm just going to add a bit of it. All right, now I got quite a bit of dust on here, so I'm going to blend this out and make sure that all of my paper is covered where I want it. I'm doing horizontal because I think that hides better in the sky rather than like, I suppose you could do circles if you wanted to, but instead of doing like, avoid vertical lines, but circles are pretty nice as well. So horizontal or circle. And you can see how soft everything is right now. Everything's kind of just blending really nicely together. And that's just after a few layers of the pastel. I did notice, so like I mentioned in the beginning, I'm working on the Clairefontaine pastel mat. Previously, I worked on the UArt 600 paper, and I am noticing that the amount of layers that I need to put down to get full coverage on the paper, I need to do a few more layers on this paper rather than the UArt. But I think that's just because when you scrape the pastel across the UArt paper, since it's fairly coarse and sandpaper, you're getting more of the dust to scrape off. So that could be the reason. Okay, now I'm going to go through. I'm going to add some of my blues and greens back into this sky, and I'm being much more thoughtful of how I'm doing it. I'm doing small circles because I'm kind of creating those like ghostly clouds that you get in space. So I'm going to do like just small circles, kind of add them in various locations, and try to create some space effect. So just kind of half circles, cloud thingies. It's going to be blended out, but these shapes will kind of stay in their location a little bit. Just a little bit of that blue. And I'm going to switch right into this kind of bluish green color. Do the same effect. And just kind of create some clouds. go. And I will blend this out before doing any highlight stuff. And I'm not moving my finger a lot. I'm kind of just, I'm moving in a small circle, and I'm brushing it just barely because I want those clouds to come through a little bit. I don't want to lose the detail that I've drawn. So I'm just going to keep kind of just a subtle touch and a little circle motion. And we're just going to blend all of that out. This. I'm going to go through and add some more of the brighter blue colors as well. Get some more saturation in these darker areas, make it more bluish. A bit too gray for me. Anywhere you see some of the details showing up a little bit more than you want, just rub them with your finger a bit more firmly, with a bit more pressure, and they'll blend out. Right, so I'm going to add some of this this brighter blue. This was like the middle blue. I'm just going to go through and add some suggestions of darker clouds in the background a little bit. I'm going to even add a little bit of the more purple blue as well. This is going to be kind of a, let's see here. What purple do I want? Okay, so this is kind of just a pure purple, like a pure grape purple color. And I'm just going to go through, and once I blend these colors out, it will turn into what I want. So just a little bit of the purple here. You can add all kinds of fun colors to your space scene. There's really no limitations here. You could add, instead of blues, purples, and greens, you could go with reds and oranges and more warm colors. But I wanted to do kind of a mellow space scene with like blues and stuff. All right. I'm going to go through, okay, now I'm going to go through with like an ultramarine blue. This is a very blue. Just kind of go through and add some kind of just saturation to those darker charcoal spots. I want lots of color in the sky. So question real quick, is there no other way than your finger to blend? Yes, there's plenty of other ways to blend. I have some blending tools that are coming to me in the mail, and they haven't come yet, so I'm stuck with my fingers. But you can use like a blending stump, which actually I don't really prefer. The blending stump didn't really work well for me. It could have been that I was working on the UArt paper though. But I like the finger. I get a lot of control with the finger. One of the downsides is that it's kind of it's messy. But I have a little paper towel here to wipe my finger off. But there's some sponges, and they're specifically made because you don't want to use regular sponges, because if you used a regular sponge, it'd just take the pigment right off the paper. You don't want to use brushes because, as I've learned from my first experience with pastels, it also brushes away the pigment right off the paper, which, you know, it can be useful at times, but not for blending. It is not useful for blending. But yeah, there's blending tools that you can buy online specifically made for pastels, so you don't have to use your fingers. However, if you're picking up just sticks of pastels, your fingers are going to get messy anyway. So there's really no easy way around making a bit of a mess. Pastels are messy, you know, so you can't really get around it too much. All right. So I really like the way these colors are showing up. I like the softness. I like some of the details that are starting to come through. I want to add more vibrancy and brightness to some of these spots. So I'm just going to go through and I'm going to kind of create like just kind of lightning shapes that I'm going to blend out. So I'm just kind of making squiggly lines as though it was lightning. And when I blend it out, I'm going to have kind of these brighter lights showing up, which is exactly what I want. It's going to look kind of weird as I draw it, but when I blend it out, those details are going to kind of fade away, and it's going to just create light spots that I want. Just very soft. So now I'm just going to blend that out. Small circles and whatnot. As you add more layers, the pigment tends to blend out less, and the more you draw in the details, the more they stay where they're put. They don't tend to blend out as much at this layering process. At this point in the drawing process, the details tend to stay where they are once you put them on top of other pigment that's already been pushed into the tooth of the paper. Yes, this is the Clairefontaine pastel mat. All of the exact names for the supplies that I'm using are in the video description, so if you want to check that out, you can. Right, so I have a bit of detail in the sky now, so there's a bit of visual interest when you look at the sky. It's not just kind of blobs of random color. It has some form to it now. Some of the details, like I said, some of the details that show through too much, just rub them a bit more firmly and they'll soften up. But I don't want these lines to be too distinct. I want them to have like this sense of fading away, like they're glowing. Because what I'm going to do now is take the really light green that I used, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to kind of create brighter spots in these areas and create some of those lightning kind of shapes throughout. There's going to be a nice bright spot up here, and then there's just going to be some strings of light coming out of it. And none of these shapes have anything in particular. They're just random. Just random shapes. The sky will come to life once I start adding the stars to them. So, quick question, is this paper sanded? No, this paper is not sanded as far as I know. It's just Clairefontaine pastel mat. I don't know if it's described as sanded. Honestly, it feels really smooth, kind of like velvet, or I don't know, like a really fine cloth with like a lot of thread. But I don't know if it's described as sanded or if it is sanded. It's very nice paper though. I will be honest, at this point, after switching back from the pastel mat and the UArt and then back and forth again, I may be leaning a little bit more towards using the UArt sandpaper. Hello Alex, thanks for joining the live stream. I'm glad you could. So this is the reference that I'm using for this is something that I created in Photoshop. but it's barely, it barely constitutes as reference because it's kind of what I'm drawing here. It's more of a color reference rather than a shape reference or something like that. The silhouette is going to be a little bit more based on a reference rather than what I generated in Photoshop. But for this, I wouldn't need a reference to create a spacey sky scene because it really is just 2 steps. Create kind of a misty color blobs, blend it out really smooth, like I'm doing here, and then create the stars over top of it. And that's really all it is. There's not much that you need to do post that. So I'm just adding more of the light color into my highlighted spots just to make them brighter. I'm even going to incorporate a little bit of white to really make them show up bright. And I'm going to add a little bit of white into the other spots as well, just to brighten them a bit. And some of the green over top, just so it's not too white. Just blend that out. Alright, so after this, I think that's pretty good. I like this sky where it's at. I'm going to go through and I'm just going to add some stars now. And I haven't really developed a technique for stars, so we're going to do a few experiments just to see what would be best. The question is, am I getting over my texture thing? Because if you have been following me for a while, then you know that I don't like texture, that I'm huge anti-texture. And when it comes to working with pastels, you have no other option. But the texture that I get with the sanded paper and the pastel mat, it doesn't affect me. I refer mostly to painting. Like if I paint, I hate canvas texture. So yeah. All right, so what we're going to try first is I'm just going to take the white stick and I'm just going to try to add dots. And that seems like it's laying down really nicely, very bright. But as you can imagine, this is going to take a considerable amount of time to add all of these dots into this scene. Unfortunately, I don't know of really any other way. I have a knife here. I could try scraping it, but I'm afraid it would just become fine dust as opposed to stars in the sky. So I think I really like the way that this is looking. I'm using the corner and I'm just tapping it onto the paper. I'm not using a lot of pressure because it really doesn't take a lot. I guess the one positive to doing it like this is I don't really have to pay attention to what I'm doing, so I can carry on a conversation and just tap away at the paper. If you could, in the comments, let me know if these stars are showing up for you, because they are quite fine. And some of the brighter spots, it's always nice to kind of group stars together there. Thank you, Jen. I appreciate the compliment. I seem to get that compliment quite a lot recently, especially. So I appreciate it. Yes, so tapping the stars on is pretty boring and time-consuming. One of the things that you're going to want to do is you're not just going to want to do all your stars in space, or in space. Yeah, you're going to want to do all your stars in space, but you're going to want to use other colors rather than just white. So I'm going to let me use a nice yellow color as well. And since I have two hands, I'm just going to tap back and forth and get this done twice as fast. And eventually I'll change colors as well. Hold on one second, camera stopped recording. There we go. Sorry. Yeah, so adding a little bit of variation to your colors when you're tapping in the stars, using the yellows, the greens, even a light blue or something like that, it's really good. It's a subtle effect, but it is a good quality do when it comes to adding the stars. So one of the questions that I got in the comments is whether or not my colored pencil scraping technique would work in this scenario. And if you're unfamiliar with that technique, I would point you to my recent colored pencil fall landscape. I did that technique at the end of that video. But I would have to say no. And the reason that I say no is because the way the pigments lay on the paper, I wouldn't want to try to press that in with a spoon because I'd be afraid that it would damage the tooth of the paper. So, all right. So some of the stars on the outside I like quite a bit. I don't want too many, but I am going to kind of group them together in these little clusters of space gas, I guess you call it, which galaxy stuff. Just tapping away. I'm using the yellow and the green right now, so I'm not even using white. But I'm just going to tap in and kind of get those stars grouped together more densely in these clouds here. Okay, I'm going to switch these colors, and let's do a blue, and I'm going to switch back to white. Do a blue and the white. I'm going to do the blue in the darker spots, and I'm going to do the white in the lighter spots. Gotta make sure I use a sharp corner. Yes, those that are referring to my ambidexterity in the comments, yes, I am ambidextrous. I recently, well, I don't know how recent I guess I can say it was, but I did do a portrait where I drew the portrait with both my hands simultaneously, and that was a fun time. I actually finished the portrait quicker too than if I were to just do it with one hand. No, there will not be an astronaut in this picture. There would just be, stuff. It would be, I'll put a moon. I'll put a moon in the picture. Okay, so now I think that's good with the stars, but I want to add a few bright ones. So I'm just going to go in here and add a few brighter stars in, just random locations. I'm just trying to create kind of small little specks with the corner. The corner's not really doing too well. I'm getting weird shapes. I feel like there needs to be, let's see here. I'm going to take this light green, and I have no idea how well this is going to work. This is a total gamble, so let's go ahead. I feel like there's a shooting star somewhere here. I don't know. I think it's right here. I'm just gonna kind of create a thing and brush it back. See, that didn't work. Maybe if I could just create a line. Yeah, I think that works. But I need a little bit of white in there. There. I think that's good for a shooting star. Okay, so let's add a moon. Now I have this which I want to use. I think one of the problems is that this part here is blending out too much. So I'm going to use, let's see, I'm going to use my white pencil. Actually, let me highlight that shooting star a little bit more. Let's see. I think that's a good size for a moon. Let me make sure I have this on the right side. And I'm just going to go in here with my white Pitt pencil, and I'm going to create a crescent right here. There we go. There's part of the moon. I'm just going to use the pencil to kind of creep up to that edge a little bit. And I'm not going to color it all in because I want just like those random variations that you get in the moon. And let's see here. I have a little bit of this blue here with my Pitt pencil. I'm just going to go in here, add some blue, and this is going to blend out and just kind of fade into the sky a little bit. Hopefully I can pull this off. I've never tried it before. Let's see here. So I want to use a little bit of this dark blue here. And just kind of get close. I want my moon to be more green color. So I'm going to grab that green color that I have that I used. Just kind of touch it up a little bit. And this is starting to look more like a planet, so maybe I should add, yeah, I'm going to add some of this blue, and I'm going to tone it down a little bit. Because I want it to be a moon, not a planet. But I want it to fade away. I want it to fade. I might have to go back and add a few stars here. How's that for a moon? I think it needs a little bit of a highlight to it. So I'm gonna try to do it with this right here. It doesn't feel very moony. Is that a word, moony? Should tell me what you think of the moon. Faint cloud in front of the moon. I think I can try that. I need something a bit easier to blend with. Grab a stump really quick. I think this will help. Right, that's not working. Now I feel like I need some more highlight. Just needs a bit of texture, that's what it is. Add some texture to it. All right, and for a cloud, so I'm just gonna risk it and add, I don't know, some blue cloud here and here. That. And I need to highlight it with a little bit of green. And I'll use some of that charcoal gray just to kind of use it to desaturate it a little bit and then blend it out. I'll have to go back and add some stars back in there. But how's that for the planet? Got some clouds in front of it now. I think I still need a little bit of blue. Those clouds. Let's blend that out like that. All right, so let's go and add some of those stars back that I lost. And I'm going to use my pencil one more. Okay, I'm not going to use my pencil. I'm going to have to pick it up off the floor later. I'll use this. That pencil went haywire. I don't know. It was a glitch when I picked it up. There we go. Just a bit brighter at the edge. And then also a few more stars over here I lost. Okay, I think that's better. Now we have a lovely moon in the sky. Still kind of don't like my shooting star. There we go. That's better for the shooting star. A bit brighter. Right, so that is it for the space scene. What we're going to do now is I'm going to create the silhouette. And so now I'm going to get the pure black, the actual black pastel. And I'm just going to I'm going to use the corner. I like to use the corner. I feel like I have a lot of control there. And I'm just going to kind of come in here and I want these lines to be as sharp as possible. And this is pretty much going to finish up this piece, and I'm going to create kind of a hill. There doesn't need to be a lot of detail to what you're doing to the ground here. But I want to cover it completely with black. And this hill comes down and kind of just, yeah, that's how I see it. And just color everything in. There. All right, so now that I used half of the rest of the black that I have, I'm going to go in here and I'm going to be very careful with my edges. I want to preserve my edge where I drew it, so I'm going to avoid blending that. And if you have extra dust there, just ignore it. Just pretend it doesn't exist, because when you lift this up, all that extra dust will fall down and it won't be an issue anymore. But you can see that because we didn't use any black in the actual background, the black for the silhouette shows up a lot. That's exactly what we wanted. We wanted that really obvious contrast. So there's still a few pieces down here of the paper that's showing through, so I'm going to pick up my black again and just kind of get the border right where the tape's at. And blend it out. Alright, so that's pretty black. Now we're going to use the black Pitt pencil, if I can keep it in my hand, and we're just going to draw some dead trees and things coming up out of the ground. So we're just going to kind of just add some things popping up. And don't be too picky, don't be too precise, just kind of add some jagged squiggly lines and make one side a bit thicker at the base, and it will look pretty tree-like, I can promise you that. I'm not doing anything really precise in any way. Just add some kind of grassy things if you want. Random stick popping up maybe over here, and then maybe a smaller bush here, and a tree over here. Just kind of jagged squiggly lines. That's all I'm doing. Nothing precise whatsoever. And the taller tree here. Like that. You can't really mess this up. So just add some shorter limbs to the tree. And we're going to add a few leaves to it, and then maybe a kind of a dead tree and some grass. Just kind of adding a bit of detail there. Just adding some variation to that line, so it's not flat and boring. And where you use the pencil, just kind of get rid of that a little bit. And then we're going to take our black again. So I'm going to take the black and I'm going to use the flat end of it, and I'm just going to kind of press into the paper and create some leaves. Just a few kind of leaf effect silhouette on the tree branches. And I'm just pressing down and then scooping up like that. That's what I'm doing. And because it's not perfect, it creates a nice kind of spongy leaf texture. And that's what we're going to use for our tree leaves. It creates a nice texture. Sorry about that. Sorry. Keeps telling me it's stopped automatically. Let's see if it does it again. Alright, so it seems to be working. I'm just going to continue tapping in some leaves and just kind of doing it at the end of some of my branches. Not the whole thing. I don't want the tree to look, like it's full. Give it kind of a dead feeling. And where the leaves are more dense, you can, tap your finger and kind of blend it in. But you want to keep it very sporadic. And we'll add just a few leaves over here on these dead trees. There we go. And the last thing that we're going to do is we're going to add a little guy. Let me just sharpen this pencil real quick, if I can. So we're going to add a little guy standing at the top. Yes, I got the message. Thank you, Susan, for letting me know. Okay, so there's going to be a little guy standing here. And the easiest way to do this, draw a stick figure. Just draw a stick figure. So he's going to be about this tall. There's his little head. We're going to keep this super simple. Just draw a stick figure. We're going to draw a line, not exactly straight down, but kind of straight down, just a slight angle. And then we're going to open it up and add him a leg. That's going to go right in the middle. And we're going to go back up to where the head meets that line. And we're just going to give him a little bit of shoulders. Just a little bit of a shoulder. And then we're going to block it in and kind of narrow it down towards the waist. Just like that. And now it's all about the subtlety. So just go in, thicken up some of the areas, and an arm on one side. Because there doesn't need to be a lot of detail to this guy, so. If you add just the right thickness to his legs and to his arms, then it will look like a human. I think I made his head a bit too big, so I gotta thicken him up quite a bit. And there you have it. That is another pastel piece done and completed. So I hope that, I'm going to try to clean up my hands a little bit. I hope that this tutorial was a bit helpful if you are new to pastels or if you just like to enjoy watching me work. That's going to be it for this pastel piece. So if you have any suggestions, let me know in the comments for another pastel piece that you'd like me to do. I'll probably do another landscape next week or something like that. So be on the lookout for the next live stream. If you want more access to my live streams, you can support me over on Patreon, where I do an additional weekly tutorial live stream. I also do colored pencils and acrylic and all other mediums. So yeah, that's how you can support my channel, or you can do the super chat that you see at the bottom of the screen. And that's going to be it for this live stream. So I hope you enjoyed it, and thank you for coming by and checking it out. And yes, I also do live streams every Monday on art topics, or I just sit and draw. You can ask me questions about anything. So if you have any questions that you'd like me to answer, art related or anything, feel free to let me know, and I'll try to answer them. And I'll see you next time. Take care.